A big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video.
So in this video, I thought I'd talk all about waterfalls. Morning everybody, fantastic to see you all again. The first thing you need to do is like, and if you're not subscribed, subscribe, just because of how difficult it was for me to get to where I am now. Just wait till you see where my tripod is, and I had to go quite a long way to cross the stream. So hopefully it's still recording. So I was recording this, and that's my tripod. I had to go downstream, then up there, and back down here. And I've just realised I probably could have just crossed the bridge. No, I couldn't get up there, could I? Got to get back now. I wonder if I can get down there. No, I can't. So I've come to what is often referred to as the Alpine of the Lake District to talk a little bit more about shooting waterfalls. And hopefully going to get some good shots of this, although it'd be nicer if there was a little bit more water in the river, but it's still good. The other thing that I like when I'm shooting waterfalls is I like everything to be wet around it. So you can see the rocks are dry at the moment. I find it better when it's just rained, but the conditions are not bad. It's overcast, which is also a good thing. I mean, you can shoot waterfalls with sun coming through as well, but it's just a little bit more difficult. So the plan is, I'm going to go down there and try and shoot and get the bridge in, but as you can see, there's a big rock in the way, and I think when you're shooting waterfalls, you've got to try and not have dominant rock features, I think, because as the water's nice and soft running through, if you have something that's really big and dominant, then it really takes over the scene. So, yeah, I'll go back down and just have a mess about. I'm sure I can find something. Oh, beautiful here.
Say something like you love me and make my day, like you always do, like you always do.
Right, so don't kill yourself, Nigel. So I've got into a position here where I feel like, you know, you can see the waterfall here is pretty good. I've got this sort of L shape or sort of diagonal and then diagonal the opposite way. It's almost a zigzag, I suppose. And what I'm trying to do, the great thing about diagonals is that they lead the eye through an image. You know, if you come across a diagonal, you want to go follow it and then follow the other one, and that's why an S-curve works. So I've got this diagonal. I'm probably going to try and get a little bit closer as well. So as you can see, if I go closer, I'm just going to, I've only got a 40mm lens on, so I'm going to just make the most of this really amazing foreground here. I've got to watch the top here because I probably have to do 2 exposures because this top bit is in sun, and it's nice, but what I really like is this tree here. The good news about this is that most of this rock is wet because I think it stays in shade for quite a big part of the day. So, and then obviously it's just wet and damp from all the water coming down. And it's sun right up there now, so you can see up here now that this is in sun, which actually looks quite good, but I've just got to expose it and have another exposure for it. So I've got, on my camera, I've got a polarizing filter, and yeah, just for the water really and the rocks. It's always good to try and shoot it with and without a polarizer, I find. And I'm shooting it around about 1.5 seconds, which I think will work quite well. But like I say, I need to get over the water a little bit more just to try and get a nicer look to, because there's some really nice patterns here in this water where it's falling over the rock. Right, so I'm going to risk my life, get a bit closer, and see what we can get. drove you around next to a beautiful waterfall in a valley. There's nothing better really. So one of the things that I find when taking waterfalls that helps is shade. But I do like some sunlight. So because what you get with the sunlight is you get a really nice reflection of the reflected light, so like the blue sky or the green leaves in the water, and that gives a really nice look to the smooth parts of the water. So that's something to look out for. You know, think about maybe having something in shade but it's got reflected bits of the sunlight as well. Obviously you can take shots in complete overcast conditions as well, that works well, but if it's sunny it doesn't mean you can't shoot waterfalls, and actually you've got some advantages as well. So I've just taken a few compositions of this, as you've seen, and I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up on the bridge. I'm going to try and shoot down through some leaves and do something a little bit more abstract. But yeah, it's beautiful here, so beautiful. So I always find when I'm shooting waterfalls that it's good to go for a different angle, and you can probably see if I just move down the bridge here, I've got my tripod in a fairly precarious position here, but if we just take a look at the shot, what I'm trying to do is I've got these green leaves here, I've got some more green leaves at the bottom here, and then I've got these green leaves at the top. Now unfortunately the sun's come a little bit too far down, but I think I got a shot before that happened. And it's just nice because there's a lot of really nice parts of the waterfall that's going left and right. The key thing when you're doing something like this, I find, is take the shot. At the moment I've got it on a half a second shutter speed, and then try and have a really detailed look at it through the eyepiece. Take it off the camera, you know, move away into the shade and just look at it through the eyepiece. Because I find that when you look at it through the eyepiece on your electronic viewfinder, obviously if you don't have a mirrorless camera you can't do that, just look at it on the screen. I just feel like it just helps you just sort of visualize whether it's right, the composition. And with water, it's harder to visualize because obviously things are moving. Right, I think I'm gonna go and have a coffee now. I've been shooting for a good few hours. This is marvelous.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I am just looking through the photos in Lightroom, and I just wanted to point something out that I think is quite important. Actually, a couple of things. So this is the wide angle furthest away shot I had. So this was 15mm, shot a little bit away from the rock, and you can see that it's shot at half a second. I've got a really nice flow down here. And the rock, I think, works really well. You can see the wet areas of the rock are really nice. So if I just zoom in, we've got this really nice sort of glow on them. And that's because they are reflecting the light from the sky and the canopy, and we're getting that colour. And if I go further up here, you can see that, again, we're getting that really nice sort of colour on the water here that's reflected from the sort of green canopy and the blue sky. And that's what I was trying to get across, really, that's really nice when you've got those sunny conditions. As long as you're shooting in the shade, then you can get really nice shots like this. So that was one shot. If I go and shoot before the sun came out, so if I go to this shot, there's no sun. You can see the canopy at the top there isn't quite as bright. And you can see that these areas haven't got that same sheen that my other images have got. So if I look at it and compare it to this one, you can see that this has got a really nice sheen to it. The other thing I wanted to mention is, if this is the wide angle shot, but if I went closer, not wide angle, this is the further away shot, but if I go closer, you can see it has a very different feel to it. So I go from this to this, I've just gone closer over the rock, and it gives a little bit more power, a little bit more like you're on top of the waterfall, I suppose. So that's something to think about where you position your tripod. I am really close to this rock, but I'm shooting at 40mm f/13, and it's nearly in focus. It's not quite in focus, and I probably should have paid a little bit more attention to that, but it's not quite in focus. I think one of them, so on this one here, I wasn't quite as close as the other ones, and you can see that this rock is pin sharp. It just looks really, really nice. And even without any sun out, I'm still catching some of the blue sky here in the reflections. The key thing is that if you've got a polarizer, you've got to think about that, because those reflections on the rock get removed if you've got a polarizer. If you just turn it and look through, you'll see that the reflections on the rock get removed. A lot of people think when you're shooting a waterfall, you've got to use a polarizer, but that's not the case. You can polarize the light, but just decide whether that's a good thing or not for your composition. And just by moving the camera not very far, you can get a different look at the whole image. I hope that's useful. I hope that gives you some ideas for when you're next shooting waterfalls. I love shooting waterfalls, and it's made me realize I just don't do it enough. So I just wanted to say something about the World Landscape Photography Competition at the end of the video. Before I do that, I just want to thank this week's sponsor, which is Squarespace, and they've been a long-time sponsor to the channel and just make creating a website super easy. So if you're looking to set up a website, to share your photos, maybe make a portfolio of all your landscape photos, maybe even sell your photos, I do it through their online store, then go and have a look at squarespace.com. And if you use offer code Nigel or /Nigel, you get 10% off your purchase. Okay, I now want to say something about the World Landscape Photography Competition. This is why the Nikon Z7 and lens are here. These are the star prizes. So I'm going to announce the results at 9 AM next Sunday, 9 AM BST next Sunday. I'll also be talking about the winners in my video next week as well, so make sure you check that out. And yeah, the judging is going well. God, there's so many good photos. I think we had about 6,500 photos. So a real challenge to get that down to the 50 sort of commended photos and then the top 6. But I think we're getting there. We've got a chat later this week to sort of go through and choose that winner. So we've not chosen them yet, but yeah, there's definitely some amazing photos. So thanks so much for entering. Okay, until next Sunday, bye.